Yeah, okay. Okay, I think Sri Lakshmi left the thing. We are now myself and host only are left out, but I think now that it is streaming, I'll go ahead with my lesson. And if you can recollect, we had, I think we had a class on last Tuesday or Monday. I don't not able to remember very well. But then in the last class, we were discussing Unit 4. We were discussing about various sources of news, and we completed some sources of news of say government, legislature, and judicial sources. We stopped at government. We discussed that in government also, when you go to any government office or sometimes government itself on behalf of the other departments like information public relations, it gives this department of information public relations on behalf of other departments also releases press releases. It gives out press releases, so that is a source of news. Or sometimes the department heads, IAS officer, they can address a press conference, like, or sometimes the police also can address press conference directly. The other day we have seen Anand addressing a press conference with regard to the rape case. He gave everything in a chronological order. So a press conference also is, for instance, a source of news. So from government you can get in the form of news release, or it can be in the form of or their secretaries can also be contacted to know exactly what information. Of course, the secretaries will give. Secretary means their assistants or personal secretaries of the officers, responsible officers. So they on behalf of their officers, they may convey some information, and that also becomes a source of news. Likewise, we have legislature also a source of news. Where we have certain times correspondence going to assembly or parliament, and stay in a press gallery there and then take down the notes of what's happening in the parliament session or assembly session. Live they will be seeing, not the live television. They go there personally. Only senior correspondents, senior reporters are sent, because responsibility is very huge there, and they are sent to parliament or assembly, as the case may be, Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha or assembly or council. So they go there, they sit in the press gallery, and then they watch the proceedings of the assembly or parliament, and then they give out the news also. But nowadays we are having live, so people are also able to see live what is happening in the parliament also. So both the questions and everything, they can take care of that, and they can start releasing the. They have a separate press room from where they operate. They have got all internet connection and everything. So a lot of things happen in case of this. And then when you are reporting assembly or parliament, one of the important precautions that a journalist should take, that a reporter or a correspondent should take, is that he should not trespass into the privileges of members of assembly or parliament. So he should be very careful of what he is reporting, because he may invite the wrath, the WRATH of the parliament also. So they may even call you. They may call you also. They may ask you to come and appear before the parliament. And of course, very rarely that happens, but they can take action against you if they feel that you have crossed the basic tenets of parliament procedures. That is very, very important. All of you should know. But the correspondent reporter, when he goes for the news, normally he is well versed in what are questions, question hour proceedings, calling attention motion, 0 hour, papers laid on the table, and so many acts passed by parliament or assembly, as the case may be. So they also make news. So that's also a very good source of news. Similarly, if you go to courts, right from the district level to Supreme Court, press people can go to courts and sit in the along in the hall along with the other members of the public. There is no separate press as such there. I mean, enclosure for press. They can mingle with the visitors in the Supreme Court or High Court or wherever. They sit with them. They listen to cases which are very important. Of course, for very important cases, they go to courts, and then they get the news. That is also a source of news. So you should be able to have a good contacts with the court staff, police, solicitors, and others. You should also know that that is very, very important. So courts also are a very good source of news. Another important area from where you can get the news are the corporate bodies. The corporate bodies are very happy to be, in touch with media, because they get publicity, they get mileage, they get popularity. Their corporate becomes famous, so it may also even sell their product in a better way. So one of the important sources of news is that when you go to any corporate organization, it can be you can meet the CEO, COO, CFO, or the PRO of these corporate bodies. So there is a lot of advantage. That is a very good source of news. But you have to be, as a journalist, you have to be above board. In the sense, you should not be tempted by anything that perhaps the corporate comes forward to influence you to twist the story in their favor. No, when you are going for a coverage of news or for taking news, you have to show your own, you know, we have seen earlier the reporters qualifications and characteristics come out there actually. So sometimes what happens, you can get in touch with directly the officers, or sometimes the corporate bodies themselves conduct what you call it as a press conference. So they can also conduct a press conference. For instance, Twitter is a social platform. They were in trouble, and then Twitter held a press conference to set aside the misunderstandings or misapprehensions, expressed in the media. So sometimes that press conferences can also become source of news, or they may give out a press note on important occasions that may also become a source of news. So likewise, we have corporate as one source of news, and obviously we have online sources. So nowadays, uh, entire data we can get online. You don't have to ask anybody any questions. There are many government department, government organizations which are totally transparent. Every information is posted on their website and updated on day-to-day basis every 24 hours also. So they also have their own databases, archives. Their archives are public records, so you can obtain. So online sources is also one of the places from where you can get the news. That is also sometimes known as a computer assisted journalism. So మీరెవరిని కాంటాక్ట్ చేయట్లేదు, but you're able to get a lot of information. You're able to source a lot of information from the online places also. So sometimes, what happens is that press conferences are held. It can be held by anybody. So all the people about whom we discussed it. It can be held by a corporate body. It can be held by an NGO. Sometimes judges also. You remember Supreme Court judges held a press conference when they expressed some inside information about the court functioning. There were five of, I think, 6 or 7 people addressed a press conference. You all should know that that made a big, very big news, just to tell that how things are taking place in judiciary. So that is also one of the source of news. So please remember, whenever such things happen like press conference, uh, normally media people make it compulsory to attend such press conference, because that's one of the golden opportunities for them to cover the entire information, and they get a lot of mileage in terms of TRP, in terms of viewership, in terms of readership, in terms of listenership, or in terms of usership. Usership means users, like if you are on the net also. So normally who conducts the press conference? Politicians conduct, bureaucrats conduct, sports teams also can conduct, SAP can conduct, or Telangana can conduct, Telangana Sports Authority. The other day Maithili Raj retired, so maybe you can conduct a press conference. You can give her all the, you know, all the praise that she deserves, all the appreciation, the bouquets. For instance, press conference can be held to give her a very good kind of a last chance for her to address the press, because she may not be able to have that kind of opportunity once she retires from cricket. So who can conduct? Celebrities can conduct a press conference. Shah Rukh Khan, if he wants, he can conduct a press conference because his son has been innocently framed in that drug case in the cruise liner. But then later, the court has proved that he has been found innocent and he has been freed also. So please remember, these things are also there which become a source of news. It can be a celebrity, it can be a commercial organization, any commercial organization, or it can be sometimes Prashant Bhushan, a very big eminent lawyer, can also correct. He may also be able to give some information. He may conduct a press conference, chief ministers. So news conferences normally are held in hotels, conference rooms, or press clubs or other formal settings. They need a big place. They need the camera people to come with their equipment. They have a lot of people there. So where they have a capacity to hold about 300 to 400 people. Sometimes the media people are 300 to 400. If Modi is addressing a press conference, you'll have 500 people, attending the press conference. So Sometimes what happens, they may also be held in an impromptu manner. Impromptu means akkadakade, to avoid any misunderstanding. Like for instance, the other day, yesterday, I think so, in Delhi parking lot, there was a big inferno. There is a lot of fire accident, big disaster. Lots of people came there, and instead of going back to office, maybe they can conduct there itself impromptu. There is unannounced, unexpected press is already there, so they may address it. Sometimes that also can happen. Okay, or other places where news is breaking. So all of you we have seen in movies also, they go and then wherever news is breaking, they go and contact these people. And then what is essential for us is that how do you develop these sources? Sometimes another source is personal contacts. As a journalist, you must be able to have some personal contacts, but that doesn't mean that you will be misusing your personal relationship because of your personal contacts. But you can try to use by you going to a particular person, introduce yourself, show your ID card, and tell him that you are from so and so media organization, and then whether he is able to give you any information, or will he be able to guide you to someone who will be able to give you the information. So that is also a source of news. So how do you develop sources? Now what is essential is that till now we have discussed what are all the sources, from where all we can try to get. Some more are there, I will tell you that some more. How will you develop these sources? How will these sources believe you, trust you, have that kind of a cordial relationship with you, to part with information, to share some information? How is it possible? One of the best ways is that you should try to maintain news or no news. Try to stay in contact with some important people who may be a very good source of information for you. But then you're not having anything beyond that. No personal stakes with him or her, and then nothing else. Just a media contact that they will also have with media. They are also happy to have contact with you because you are from media. ఎప్పుడైనా మీరు పనికొస్తారు, ఎప్పుడైనా నేను మీడియాలో చెప్పుకోవాలంటే you will be the right person for me. And so is the case for you also. ఎప్పుడైనా మీకు న్యూస్ కావాలి, some important person is there, he or she will be able to give at that time also. You can try to develop, maintain some kind of contact with people who matter. Not with all and sundry. Everybody roll up. Ade antarada. Not every Tom, Dick, and Harry. You can try to have some contact with people who matter, who are in a position to give you some news or some tips. But that is possible when you try to be honest. Okay, you try to be honest. But sometimes you may not find. You may have source, but he or she is not revealing. Then find new sources. Go to someone who is new. Learn where records are. Also try to know where you can get the records of, say, you want some information. Where can you get those records? So you can also try to find experts. Now when Corona was there, press was struggling to find experts. R.K. Mishra for CCMB, he was there, for instance. He was one of the most important persons. Srinivas Rao, Medical and Health Department of Telangana government, because they were all the people who were the experts to tell us some reliable information on, say, COVID, or say on testing, or say on use of mask or vaccination, okay, or physical distance, or whatever the things that you need to know. So you can always try to find experts. It need not be in medicine. It can be in architecture, engineering, IAS, anywhere you can try to develop some people, find some experts. Then also, not in and around you, try to develop some national sources. So you should be able to get some information at national level. For instance, Bombay is the financial capital of India. Maybe you can have some contact with SEBI or stock exchange, or maybe some of the people there. Then develop national sources. Or maybe in Delhi, you will always have national. So Delhi is always very important in terms of politics, in terms of administration, in terms of national security. You can always track your sources. Nowadays, technology enables you to be in touch on day-to-day basis, or rather minute-to-minute basis also. And when you get sources, don't believe him or her blindly. Your source is good. No, he is very good. He or she is very good. I know them very well. I have been developing this source. But try your best to always strengthen yourself with documentation. So if I suppose I am your source, you come to me, I'll give you some information. Then you should ask me, sir, can you, whatever you told, can I have some documents to support? No, document means I won't give, but I will tell. Then you have to be careful. Then if నేను చెప్పిందంతా నీకు డాక్యుమెంట్ కూడా ఉన్నాయి, జరా కాపీలు ఇచ్చేస్తే తీసుకో. So both are very good now. So you have asked some information, I have given you some information. You have asked for documents, I have given you the documents. At the same time, you are doing this work only in public interest. I am able to give you the information in public interest. You are also seeking the information in public interest. There is no interest in you or in me. We both, nothing. We have nothing to do with that information. మనకి ఇందులో పర్సనల్ బెనిఫిట్ లేదు, పర్సనల్ లాస్ లేదు. సో దీన్ని మనం పర్సనలైజ్ గా తీసుకోవట్లేదు. We are parting with that information. So nothing wrong in giving any documents wherever possible, wherever permissible as per law. అట్లా అని చెప్పి మీరు ఆర్మీ వాడిని డాక్యుమెంట్ ఎడితే వాడు ఇవ్వడు, because he is protected. He is forbidden from parting with any document. He may be arrested also. Sorry, in the name of public security, internal security. And so so not only developing sources, you can do that, and at the same time, don't become too close to your sources or allow sources also to be too close to you. You have to keep that particular distance. You're only close to the extent of getting the information in a very cordial manner, diplomatic manner, and you are also approaching him or her, convincing them that this information is required so that the media is able to tell the truth to the people. Your duty is to tell the truth to the people. They deserve the truth. People deserve the truth. And if the other person who is giving the news is also interested in the same way, then he will definitely give you the information. So there is no personal stake at, there's no personal stake. So that is one of the most important areas where you can try to develop your sources, find experts, national sources, track your sources, ask for documentation, beware of getting too close. Then I have seen one important area where you can just observe. Your observation itself is one of the best ways of sourcing information. So you may not get any news, nobody may speak to you, nobody may, but you were able to make out something in the form of a body language. Kuch ki ho raha hai, dal mein kuch kala hai. You are able to smell some news. So when you observe action or detail that is seen, what questions occur to you? So so in a way you're becoming a policeman or a detective there. Maybe a crime scene. Maybe you will be in a position to ask some questions there. At that time, because of your observation, you may get some question which no other media person might have observed. You have observed exclusively. You have been very, curious. You have been very careful. You have been very sharp or smart, and you are in a position to ask a question. So that occur to you. So that, how do you get that? When you do this observation, keen observation. ప్రతిసారి మన క్లాసులో పిల్లల్ని కమాన్ వినవయ్యా, కాన్సన్ట్రేట్, ప్లీజ్ కాన్సన్ట్రేట్. సో whenever you go to any particular place or any particular source or any person you are interviewing, also you can change the question also on the basis of how he or she is answering. Sometimes by the kind of a body language, you may feel like asking a new question also. This is because it's a part of your observation. So observation itself is a source of news. That's a great thing that often happens. So when you are, say, at the scene of an accident or an event, many of the basic questions will come like our 5 W's and 1 H: why, what, when, where, why, what, when, where, and how. So you'll be able to know how. So please remember, just as how you get very good photograph, you also may get some ideas to ask some question. So you also need to know whether what you asked needs graphic representation. You can also think like that. And another way of sourcing material in sources of news, in addition to what we discussed so far in about 24 slides ahead, earlier we have shown, is what is known as academic journals. So let me first share this PPT and then I hope we can talk 1 minute. Let me share the screen. Okay, I'm now sharing the screen so that you are able to see the the slides that I have so far discussed. So now, since no participants are there, I could not notice this. Anyway, now you can see the Slides. Another source of news is reference material. Reference material. What are so much of reference material available either in your newspaper office? You may have a library, a uh, well provided library, like you may have academic journals, reports and statements, telephone directories. Of course, telephone directories are now no more in use. Those bulky books, 10 kilos or 5 kilos books are no more available. Earlier we used to have till 2010 also we used to have directories, but now they are no more in vogue because everything you're able to get online. You have to just type the name and you get it in the Google. So academic journals, reports and statements, telephone directories are all what you call it as the sources of information. When you want to write a detailed article, or say on Article 370 in Kashmir, you want to write, or you want to write something on the latest attack on Pandits, in addition to what you have already seen in Kashmir files. Okay, you may now want to know what's happening right now. That was in 90s, but now also the same situation, or rather more serious situation, is prevailing. And then at that time, you want to write a detailed article, you want to write something with it, you want to do some analysis, earlier incidents, now incidents. Then you will refer some journals, you will refer for some archives, you will refer for some back data. Yes, you can do that through Google also. But as you know, in Wikipedia itself announces that whatever they say is not, has to be further corroborated. Corroborated means you have to be, it has to be further authenticated. So quite possible, all that is in Google may not be the authentic information. All that is not there in the Google may not be the what you call it as the false information. So everything you have to see in addition to these reference materials, academic journals, reports and statements, and all those things. Of course, now the next difference is nowadays everybody is seeking internet. When a student is asked a question, immediately he checks in his cell phone and then gives an answer to the teacher, making the teacher believe that this fellow is very intelligent, he knows everything. But actually, he had already accessed it in his internet without the teacher's knowledge, and immediately gave all within few seconds. So internet is a good source, a tool for finding background information. A lot of background information can be. If you type immediately, you will be able to know what is what also. So many times you want to know the history of, say, a place like Ooty. You want to know the history of Ooty, who came there. Okay, maybe some Sullivan has come there, some person from Sweden has come there and he has settled there. Entire history is there in the Google. So please remember, we'll have to know, but at the same time, do not become a slave to internet. Do not become what you call it as what you call it as total surrender to internet. You have to also determine its credibility of web information. ఎంత నమ్మొచ్చు దాన్ని మళ్ళీ మీరు క్రాస్ చెక్ చేశారా? Have you checked with cross check internet? You have seen, maybe you can call someone who is an expert in that area. Okay, suppose you have taken some information on history, you can call some history professor and ask him, this is what Google has said, let me check and get back to you. So it's quite possible. And then in the internet, what happens, you are flooded with information. Internet లో డిసడ్వాంటేజ్ ఏంటి? టూ మచ్ ఆఫ్ ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్. అందులో మునిగిపోతారు మీరు, మళ్ళీ అందులో బయటికి రావడం కష్టం. So be very careful while searching in the internet, because searching in the internet for a specific information is itself a skill and art. So you'll have to narrow down your search, go to that particular area, so that the more narrower you are, the more accurate you are trying to reach or source your information through internet. So please try to understand what are all the domains that we can try to contact, or what are all the site contacts, which site is better, which site is reliable, which is a bogus site, which is a fake site, all these things. So ఒక పెద్ద వన్ బిగ్ డంప్ నుంచి మీరు తీసుకోవాలి. ఒక్కోసారి మట్టిలోంచి మాణిక్యం లాగా యూ హ్యావ్ టు టేక్ అవుట్, యూ హ్యావ్ టు డిగ్ ది ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ దట్ యూ వాంట్. ఇంటర్నెట్ ఈజ్ లైక్ ఎ మైన్. You don't know, you keep on digging, you are getting mud and slime. After digging and getting thousands of tons of soil, you find a small diamond. There is a possibility in internet also for you to get that information which you have been looking, searching, but at great hard work, at a great efforts. So you can look for to try to understand domains, you try to understand site contacts, their web addresses, search engines, directories, social networking sites, databases. All these are also sources of what you call it as information. So please remember, this is very essential for us. After having seen so many sources of information, let us now try to see uh, how do we get information from other things like you, or say for instance, interviewing somebody. So you are interviewing an expert, or you're interviewing someone from whom you want to take. Bahubali is a great movie, it has been produced world over. Then you want to interview that person who produced that movie, maybe directed that movie, Rajamouli. So you want to interview there, mind you, you're going to interview a celebrity. Or maybe you are interviewing an ordinary man also. Sometimes that also happens. Then always remember, as a reporter, when you go and when you're trying to interview someone, you have to prepare for it. ఊరికే అట్లా పోయి అల్లాటప్ప క్వశ్చన్స్ అడగకూడదు, because he or she may not reveal information. They will feel that you have not come prepared properly, you have not done your homework properly. So please remember, there is an art of interviewing, and there is a procedure for it. There is a particular pattern with which if you go in conducting interview, you will emerge very successful. So please remember, one of the important things, you have to plan how to prepare for an interview. So you have to do a lot of background. Just because Rajamouli కదా నాకు ఛాన్స్ దొరికింది కదా అని ఇంటర్వ్యూ చేయటం కాకుండా, what is Rajamouli's background, what is the background of this movie, who are all the actors, when did the shooting start, when did the shooting end. ఇట్లా బేసిక్ ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ మీ చేతిలో ముందే ఉండాలి. రాజమౌళి గారు యూ కాంట్ ఆస్క్ హిమ్, సార్ ఎప్పుడు స్టార్ట్ అయింది ఇది, మీరు ఎప్పుడు స్టార్ట్ చేశారు, నో. ఈ విల్ ఆస్క్ ఈ క్వశ్చన్స్ అని నన్ను అడగటం ఎందుకంటే నెట్లో చూసుకోండి. సో ఈ మే సే, సో ఇఫ్ యూ షుడ్ ఆస్క్ హిమ్ సచ్ క్వశ్చన్ which is which becomes the news for the readers, for the viewers, or anybody. So unless you are thorough in your subject, unless you do thorough research in what you want to do in the course of an interview with a celebrity or with someone, you have to go, you have to do this. So you're editing interviews for use of, are you going to interview, then you are going to use it in the thing, what is the strategy. So you, and moreover, you will also set the rules to that person. Sir, this is the thing, how I'm going to ask you some question. The rules is like that. Some kind of a basic rule. Under the patinchalan ledu. Some kind of an understanding with the interviewer. And you are an interviewer, and the other person who is being interviewed is an interviewee. VIEWEE. మీరేమో VIEWER అవుతారు, మీరు ఇంటర్వ్యూవర్ అవుతారు, ఇంకొకతనేమో ఇంటర్వ్యూఈ అవుతాడు అనమాట. సో హౌ టు ప్రిపేర్ ఫర్ అన్ ఇంటర్వ్యూ, research and everything. Then always remember, always value your own time and value the person whom you're going to interview, his time also. Value the time of the person whom you're going to interview. Don't take him lightly. ఏం పెద్ద నేను పోటు కానీ, నేను మీడియా కానీ, నా కోసం ఎందుకుంటాడు, సచ్చినట్టు పడి ఉంటాడు, మీడియా అంటేనే పడి వస్తారు వీళ్ళు. No, you cannot think in those lines. You have to be very diplomatic, you have to be very decent, you have to be very democratic, and you have to be very, cordial also. So you have to be very disciplined if you expect discipline from the other person also. So suppose you have given time to say someone X, say 10 a.m., you must be there by 9:55, 5 minutes before, but not at 10:05 and make that fellow to wait. Interviewee should not be waiting. Interviewer should be on time. You should be observant. You should also be watching the surroundings, and also watch this man while he's answering. When he's answering, you can also see from the body language whether he is nervous, whether he is confident, whether he is telling the truth. You can easily make out from the facial expression, from his body movement, from the body language. These are all the things which you will be able to understand over a period of time when you start interviewing people. So please remember, this art of interviewing demands all these rather all these valid conditions. Be on time, be observant, be polite. Don't be arrogant because you're powerful, because you're media. చాలా టైం మీడియాలో వచ్చిన గొడవ అదే, నేను మీడియా కానీ నేను ఐఎమ్ వెరీ పవర్ఫుల్, నేను ఏమైనా తలుచుకుంటే అది అయిపోతుంది, చేయగలను అనుకుంటే వాడు మీకన్నా పెద్దవాడు అవుతాడు వాడు. So many times I have seen media making such kind of mistakes of not being polite, of not being very casual. I'm not asking you be casual in your dress, there's no problem. But when your approach while you are interviewing should be polite. It should be polite. So, and also maintain eye contact. When you maintain eye contact, he will believe you. There is a lot of believability in that. ఇటు అటు చూసుకుంటూ మీరు క్వశ్చన్ అడగటం, అతను ఇటు అటు చూసుకుంటూ ఆన్సర్ చెప్పటం వల్ల there is a possibility of misunderstanding on both the sides also. So try to maintain contact. so the truth comes out. Normally, eye contact enables the truth to come out. And then do not interrupt while the interviewee has relaxed. Suppose or put him in a relaxed mode and do not interrupt him when he's talking. మీడియా మీకు టైం లేదు పెద్ద ఆన్సర్ ఇస్తున్నాడు అని ఆయన కట్ షాట్ చేయొద్దు మీరు. మీకు ఆ యొక్క ఓర్పు సహనం ఉండాలి, వేర్ యూ హ్యావ్ టు లిసన్ టు హిమ్. So maybe half an hour time, but quite possible he may take about 10 minutes more, but kindly listen to him. Okay, but sometimes what happens, he may not have time and he may ask you to finish the interview fast. So you have to be very careful in asking your questions within the time frame or giving some time to the other person to complete his answers. Don't interrupt him in the middle. He will feel discouraged. అంటే వీళ్ళకి రియల్గా ఇంట్రెస్ట్ లేదు, ఏదో నన్ను ఇంటర్వ్యూ చేశారు, నేను ఏదో చెప్తే వీళ్ళు ఏదో రాసుకున్నారు తప్ప నిజంగా వీళ్ళకి ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ తెలుసుకోవాలని లేదు అని there is a possibility of that person misunderstanding you. And then always avoid commenting. Avoid commenting. At the same time, start encouraging him to talk more. So your silence will make పదలు చెప్పండి, పర్లేదు పదలు చెప్పండి. So that if you ask him to tell, అవాయిడ్ కమెంటింగ్ అనేది అట్లా ఏం కాదులేండి మీరు అన్నారు కానీ అది కాదు. యూ డోంట్ గివ్ యువర్ కమెంట్. ఇక్కడ మీ కమెంట్ కోసం కాదు ఈ ఇంటర్వ్యూ. ఈ మే సే సంథింగ్, యూ జస్ట్ లిసన్. ఓకే సార్, ఇంకా చెప్పండి సార్, ఇంకా చెప్పండి. అప్పుడు ఈ మే సే మోర్ ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ అబౌట్ దట్. ఓకే, ఈ మే గివ్ more information will be very good for you, for your story. Instead of you don't do any commenting, either ఆహా ఊహు అనొద్దు, అట్లా క్రిటిసైజ్ చేయొద్దు, మరి ఓవర్గా పొగడేయద్దు, ఓవర్గా క్రిటిసైజ్ చేయొద్దు. అట్లనా అండి అనేసి మాట్లాడండి సార్, మాట్లాడండి. సో there are many journalists who encourage the interviewee to talk more and without commenting. If you comment, what happens? ఓహో ఇతనికి నేను ఇట్లా చెప్తే నచ్చదు కాబట్టి he will stop talking unless you ask the next question. But instead of that, okay, right, please sir, go ahead. అప్పుడు go ahead లో ఏమవుతుందంటే ఆ అమ్మయ్య వీడు వింటున్నాడు, ఈజ్ ఏబుల్ టు నో, సో he will complete what he wants to say. And try to be understanding also. Maybe he is saying with anger, with emotion, with frustration. So try to be understanding whatever be his moods or whatever is in. And then don't end the interview because time అయిపోయింది, ఇంటర్వ్యూ ఎండ్ చేసావు, బట్ మీకు యాక్చువల్గా దేనికోసం ఇంటర్వ్యూ చేద్దాం అనుకున్నావు, ఆ ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ రాకపోతే ఏం లాము. టిల్ యూ హ్యావ్ ద బేసిక్స్. దట్ ఈస్ వెరీ ఇంపార్టెంట్ ఫర్ ఆల్ ఆఫ్ us. Till you have the basics. So with this in mind, after sources, so this is also interviewing a person is itself a source of news. So with this we will now move on to unit 5. Let me see, I will stop sharing this, then I will go to unit 5 and let me see whether any other participants are there. No other participants are there. I am myself there. So let me now go to unit 5. Okay. Unit 5 is about what we call it as what we call is news writing. How do you write news? Now you have sourced news, but how do you write news? You have got the information. How do you write it for your newspaper? Is there any way that you should write news? Is there any pattern with which you write news? So when you read newspapers, you will be able to understand the pattern. That's why I always say that you're not fit to be a journalist if you don't read a paper, if you don't listen to a news, if you don't listen or if you don't view a news slot in say BBC or anything, and I'm not giving you a channel as such. If you don't read a paper, if you don't listen to news on radio, if you don't see news on TV, or maybe if you don't read news on internet, then you're not fit to be a journalist. Better quit this profession in that case. If you're not interested, if you find this boring, then there's no point in your doing journalism course. The more you read papers, the more you see news slots like BBC or maybe CNN, or even in India also NDTV, Republic TV. I'm not going to tell you you see this, you see that. If you don't listen to maybe radio also, because all these things will enable you to become a good journalist. A good listener will become a good speaker. A good reader will become a good writer. Okay, now a good user of internet can also become a very good communicator through internet also. So we have this situation where you can develop the art and skill of news writing. So unit 5 will tell us about will tell us about news writing. And let me see if I can share this. 1 minute. Okay. I'll start share screen. I will put this and then go to here and then wait a minute. Okay. So I hope we are able to see that unit 5. I'm sharing unit 5, which is known as news writing. So writing the news. Your first, what is the first step? Sourcing the news. ఎక్కడికి పోవాలి న్యూస్ కోసం అవన్నీ తెలుసుకున్నాం మనం. We have seen so many ways we can get news for our newspaper. So every day when you see a newspaper, you will find that news is coming from different directions within the city, within the state, within the country, and across the countries and all over the world. Or sometimes news is coming from Mars or moon. NASA has sent a rover, Mars rover. Now rover is also giving us some information. Now you got the information. What is the use of that information? How will you write that news story? You will not just simply copy and paste it. Then they will put a clerk instead of a journalist like you. So they give you you are a writer who is able to know the tastes of your reader. You know how your readers like what you write, and hence you are going to write a news story. After sourcing information, the next step is news writing. Now it's a skill actually, and then the other types of writing is different. Like you want to write a novel, Yadanapudi Sulochananani wants to write a novel, Irving Wallace wants to write a novel, Agatha Christie wants to write a novel, James Hadley Chase wants to write a novel. So many people may be wanting to write a fiction or a non-fiction story. Sudha Murthy wants to write books. She has written so many books. Sudha Murthy is the wife of Narayana Murthy of the Infosys. Now they are writing, what they are writing is different from what we are going to discuss in this particular presentation, which is known as news writing. So it is again a special skill, because in news writing, the way you write is different from what the other people write, say for books or textbooks or for something else. So news writing has a separate skill set apart. So it is something where you're going to tell a story very quickly and very briefly. So a lot of information in few lines, more information in few lines. How is it possible? Yes, it is possible because it has its own structure. News writing has its own structure, unlike other forms of writing. News writing has its own structure, and that structure we call it as pyramid style. So you know what is pyramid, right? The inverted pyramid. Pyramid is the straight one which you see in Egypt. పైన కొస్తగా ఉంటుంది, కిందంతా బ్రాడ్గా ఉంటుంది. దాన్నే ఉల్టా చేయండి, పైన బ్రాడ్గా ఉండి కింద నారో డౌన్ అయిపోతుంది. So the news story is in the form of a inverted pyramid. Now that is very, very essential for us to know. It is not a pyramid style, but it is an inverted pyramid style. Okay, it is an inverted pyramid style. This is not something which you find in other forms of writing. In other forms of writing, it will not be like this. Here, what happens? The most important information is at the top. The least important information at the bottom. Okay, this is how we mean by news writing. So, what are the things that we need? So, there are what is known as a theory which has been there historically in journalism, is 5 W's and 1 H. So what are these 5 W's? Who or whom is it about or has happened to? So people involved in the incident. Who? Then what happened? What is the incident? Where is it happening? Or did it happen? Or when is it happening? Or did it happen? Day of the incident or time. Why is it happening? ఎందుకైంది ఇట్లా? ఏదో ఉంటుంది. Short circuit, fire accident అయింది. Why? Short circuit. So reasons for happening. How is it happening? ఇంత ముందు అయిందా? ఇప్పుడే అయిందా? ఎన్నిసార్లు అయింది? Rape, for instance, so many rapes within 1 week. We have seen 7 rapes in 11 days. So how? is also an important question. So 5 W's and 1 H form the basis of writing a news story. When you're writing a story, it forms the actual basis. Now I'll just try to play a video, and it is a very small video. Kindly watch this video, then we'll proceed to the remaining part of the remaining part of the presentation. I'll now stop sharing here and again start sharing with the video. I hope you will be able to see and listen to that. Let me play that video, but only 4 minutes. Then you will understand what exactly we mean by 5 W's and 1 H. Okay, right. Let me see. Okay, let me go here. Let me go to you website and then see if I can access that. Okay. It's going to come. Wait a minute. Okay. So I'll now stop sharing. I will put this and then let me see if I can go to this. Yes. Okay, not this. Okay, then see if I can go to this and then start share screen and then wait a minute. Don't know whether I can now see this. Okay. Okay, right. I will now play this. I hope you will be able to see this. I hope you're seeing. Let me see, check up whether you are able to see. Okay, this only. Let us now watch the video. Oh, no. Yeah, I think now you are getting it. Yeah, okay. Now you will get that video. Let me play the video. Okay, I'm playing now. So that's it. Then we'll come back to the presentation. I'll come back to the presentation. Okay. Okay, I'll be back at this presentation. We have watched this video about 1.5 minutes hardly. That itself tells you about the importance of 5 Ws and 1H. Sometimes within first paragraph, sometimes even within the headline, you are able to get most of the answers of these 5 Ws and 1H. So from today onwards, read a newspaper and try to see whether what I'm trying to tell you is correct or not. You can verify my information also. So you must always, when a good student will always try to see whether what the teacher is speaking is also correct or not. Because teacher is also a human being. So quite possible he may also commit mistakes. She may commit mistakes while giving lecture also. So a good alert student will be able to catch the teacher also off guard. I have seen many mathematics teachers, where they made mistakes on the board and a smart guy gets up, sir, and tapu sir, make a lekka tapundi. Ekkadaya tappante, he will be able to tell the teacher also sometimes because teacher is also a human being. Likewise, you please remember that if you read now a newspaper story, most of the answers to the questions are there within the headline, within the sub headline, or within even the first two paragraphs itself. Most of the answers of the 5 Ws and 1H. So this is very important for all of us to know. And then that is one of the important things, the responsibility for you to get the answers and not compulsory that you will be able to get a complete and full understanding. ఇది ఇన్నంత మాత్రాన ఫుల్ అర్థమవుతుందని కాదు, క్వైట్ అడిషనల్ ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ అవసరం రావచ్చు. బట్ ఆల్వేస్ రిమెంబర్, ఈ 5 Ws 1H అయిపోయిన తర్వాత నా స్టోరీ అయిపోయింది అని కాదు. ఈ రోజుల్లో మనం వీఆర్ ఇన్ వెరీ మోడర్న్ ఎరా. The people don't not only want full story, they want latest story, updates also. What happened? They have caught 5 fellows. What about the other sixth fellow? Why they have not caught the MLA's son? So that you should be able to update the information. Our rape case has been there for the past 5 days in the newspapers, covering the front page, occupying the front space in the front pages. So you should never forget to report news updates also and the final full story. You try your best to see that you will be in a position to do that. Okay, 1 minute. I will just 1 minute. Hello. So we have this situation where we can be in a in a good situation when we can try to get the answers for all the 5 questions. So another important area is that suppose first ఒక న్యూస్ వచ్చేసింది, న్యూస్ స్టోరీ రాశారు, ఫస్ట్ 2 paragraphs 3 paragraphs in an inverted pyramid style అంటే latest and the most important information is put in the first or second paragraphs, then we put the remaining information in the last paragraphs. అంటే అవసరమైతే కింద స్పేస్ లేదు అంటే తీసేసినా కూడా స్టోరీ ఫుల్ గానే ఉంటుంది. So this is one kind of a situation where we have. Now similarly we have what is known as after the news is written, or we have sometimes what is that we have to give a headline to the story. Now headline is very, very important. It is a gateway. It is an entrance. ఒక మీ కాలనీలో కమాన్ ఎంత బాగుంటుంది, పీపుల్ విల్ ఫీల్ లైక్ ఎంటర్ ద కాలనీ. కమానే ఎంత బాగుంది అంటే కాలనీ ఇంకెంత బాగుంటుంది. సో ఎంట్రన్స్, ద గేట్ వే itself it should be. So that is how the headline should be. It should be correct. A good newspaper headline. So you'll have to read the story and then only you'll be able to coin a headline. And the headline should try to attract everyone. Even a fellow who is an ordinary reader or a very academic, maybe you are now studying for instance a BA or someone MA or something. It should try to impress you, or you should be able to understand. Ordinary reader should understand, anybody, and it should be able to attract attention using active words and match the tone of the article. This is very, very essential. What happens, we have seen in social media always the headlines are sensational, the headlines are misleading, the headlines are deliberately giving some artificial attention. బట్ చదివిన తర్వాత తెలుస్తుంది ఏమీ లేదు ఇందులో. బట్ అట్టగా ప్రింట్ మీడియాలో అలా ఉండదు. Newspaper headlines are written with greater responsibility, honestly speaking. And it is a window to the news story. You are able to know. ఒక కిటికీ తలుపు తీసి చూస్తే లోపల ఏం కనబడుతుంది అన్నట్టుగా మన హెడ్లైన్ చూస్తేనే తెలిసిపోతుంది లోపల ఏమేం దాగి ఉంది. Headline must fit. The heading must be fit and must be able to tell the story without reading the story. So you should be able to have a very good idea of what is being written. And then what happens, the headline should attract your attention, should create curiosity, and make you tempted to read the rest of the story, that is the first paragraph and the second paragraph and so on and so forth. This is very, very essential for all of us to know. But then at the same time, you cannot coin headlines as you like, because every newspaper has its own style. May not be a label, okay? It has its own style. So if you read headlines of Hindu, if you read headlines of Express, so you will find that they have their particular style, and the headline should be safe, should not be insulting, should not try to unnecessarily drag the attention of the reader for wrong reasons, and it must not be, and it should not be opinionated. Headline ఎవరిదో opinion ఇవ్వకూడదు. Headline should be factual, should state the fact. So it is one that in less than a dozen words, about 12 words లో మొత్తం మీరు రిపోర్టర్ చెప్పినంత కూడా ఒక 12 words లో he is able to cover as much as possible. I have seen some headlines where almost 3 or 4 W's are answered in the headline itself. No need to get the answers for reading the rest of the story. So once, many a time what happens as readers, what do? మన హెడ్లైన్స్ చదివేసి వెళ్ళిపోతున్నాం ఇంకో స్టోరీకి, బికాస్ ఆ హెడ్లైన్ లో మనకు అర్థమైపోయింది మాక్సిమం ఏదో గొడవ అయింది, ఇదైంది, ఎక్కడైంది, అంత అయింది, ఓవర్. బట్ ఐఎమ్ ఇంట్రెస్టెడ్ టు నో more about it, then I will obviously go into the story. So a good headline is one that in less than a dozen words, whatever the reporter has to say, it can summarize. So headline is a summary of the story. Then you will feel like going to the entire story. So what are the types of headlines? Now you see here I have shown you banner headlines. The entire, it is covering all the columns. Now what are the columns here? You please see the mouse. 1, 2, 3, 4, and you have here 5. It is covering the entire thing, and the headline is now, it is known as a banner headline. Like a banner, it's covering almost all the columns, covering here, it's covering here also. So you have a little headline at the top below that also. So this and this put together gives you almost the entire information. Respite from heat likely, అంటే హీట్ తగ్గే ఛాన్సెస్ ఉన్నాయి. IMD forecast light to moderate rain or thunder showers over next 2 days in Hyderabad. ఇప్పుడు చూడండి ఇక్కడ వాట్ హీట్ ఉంది, హీట్ నుంచి మనకి కొంచెం రిలీఫ్ వస్తుంది, వాట్ అయిపోయింది. వెన్ నెక్స్ట్ 2 days లో, వేర్ హైదరాబాద్. సో వాట్, వెన్, వేర్. Okay, we have already got it. So what is that we're going to get? Moderate rain or thunder showers. When? Over next 2 days. Where? Hyderabad. What is this about? Respite. Then once you see this, okay, you will feel like reading this story. So that is what we mean by, coining a headline. So please see here another headline now. Flush left headline. That is, here is the headline which is aligned to the left side. Now let us also try to understand this from Telangana today. Minor assaulted on Necklace Road. Almost, what happened? Somebody assaulted. Who? Minor. Where? Necklace Road. So you can also then read the remaining data. You can also try to read the story, and you will become automatically interested to know when it happened, why it happened, who are all involved in that, in addition to the minor. So you will be able to have that kind of an information. Now we have, for instance, inverted pyramid headline. Headline, this is what is inverted pyramid. See here, from here to here and here, like this, like this. If I draw the line here and then join this E and then join this C, it is like inverted triangle, or known as a inverted pyramid. So this is one is the inverted pyramid headline for an easy breezy commute. So you are able to have this, for instance, an inverted pyramid headline. So headlines are different types of headlines. One is known as a banner headline. One is known as a flush left headline. One is known as the inverted pyramid headline. And one is known as cross line headline, as good as a banner headline. Similar to that, cross line headline is crossing all the columns. So it's known as a cross line headline, which is similar to that of the what you call it as the banner headline. So how do you write a newspaper headline? We have seen different types. We have seen what is the headline. We have seen different types of headline. like the banner headline, we have seen like the flush left headline, like the inverted pyramid headline, or cross line headline. How do you write a good headline? Headline writing is creative art. Over a period of time, you become very good in writing headlines. It may take some time for you to become expert in this. So you'll have to follow a step-by-step approach while writing a headline. So what are the principles of headline? It is not that, strictly speaking, if you are a journalist, you may say, "Em sir, నాకు ఇన్ని restrictions పెడుతున్నారు. నేను నా creativity దెబ్బ కొట్టకుండా నేను headline రాయొచ్చు." But ఒక పర్టికులర్ ప్యాటర్న్, ఒక పర్టికులర్ ప్రాక్టీస్, ఒక పర్టికులర్ కస్టమ్, ఒక పర్టికులర్ ట్రెడిషన్, ఒక పర్టికులర్ స్టైల్. ఎవ్రీ న్యూస్ పేపర్ హ్యాస్ ఎ హౌస్ స్టైల్. మన ఇష్టం వచ్చినట్టు రాయకూడదు. వాళ్ళ విత్ ఇన్ దట్ పర్టికులర్ ఏరియా వీ షుడ్ బి ఇన్ అ పొజిషన్ టు హ్యావ్ దట్ కైండ్ ఆఫ్ ఎ స్టైల్. సో వీక్ హెడ్లైన్ ఉందనుకోండి, then it will have weak verbs. Always remember, use action verbs and active voice in the headline. Okay, active voice in the headline. So always remember, a weak headline will have a problem. Let me see if I can give you here. No, see here, no affair, says Clinton. Suggests witness should tell the truth. This is one headline, okay? But the same thing can be told in active voice with action verb. Clinton claims no affair, urges witness to tell the truth. The second headline is much clearer. You should know that the second headline. So please go through the slides, compare the previous headline of in the previous slide, this slide, and then see the headline this side. You'll understand yourself that this sounds to be better than the earlier one. And always remember, a good headline doesn't matter. Sometimes you can also incorporate some humor, okay, some fun. Appropriate అయినప్పుడే, ఇష్టం వచ్చినట్టు కాదు. It's not to insult somebody, to humiliate somebody. Humor is not to humiliate. Humor is to tickle the audience. It is to make the readers also a bit, bring a smile. But it should be done properly without affecting the reader's mind in general and the person about whom you are referring also in particular. Why are you then doing it? It will have some punch. People will feel happy, some relieved. So we are already fed up of serious stories, news stories. Always 3 killed, 4 crushed under the wheels of lorry, 2 raped. Some change in the headline. Out of the 10 stories, one humorous headline will give you a better, perspective of your newspaper. And so one of the best ways is, there is one test. Whether your headline is good or not, you test it yourself. You need not ask your reader, "Emanడి నా headline ఎట్లుంది, బాగుందా?" One is you run it yourself to confirm that the headline is really good. One is the TACT test, TACT. It is known as taste, okay? Taste, attractiveness, clarity, truth. Taste means, does it taste good or bad? It's not in good taste and antam. Yeah, that headline is not in good taste. It is very sensitivity లేదు, చాలా జెండర్ ఇదిగా ఉందండి, అది బాగాలేదు, ఇది అది ఆడవాళ్ళని కించపరిచినట్టుగా ఉంది ఆ హెడ్లైన్ అంటాం. సో టేస్ట్, is it in good taste or bad taste? And is it attractive? Is it drawing the attention of the reader? Attractiveness or attention, drawing the attention of the reader? Or is it clear, the headline? Is it creating confusion? Clarity unda leda? And last but not the least, truth. If these 4 are there in a headline, don't worry, just your editor will pass the headline and it will appear in the next day's newspaper. So do the TACT test, and with that we have completed here our class. 1 hour is over. The remaining slides will go. Unit 5 will go for tomorrow also. Then on 9th and 10th, 11th and 12th, I'll be taking the last 2 or 3 units. That is the printing, print media lo printing technical untundadi, that I will be taking, so that it's easy for you to understand through these lessons. The rest of the units you can go through the course material, and as I said earlier, if you got any doubts, feel free to ask me through WhatsApp. Thank you very much. I have stopped sharing now. Then I'll go back to the class and then quit the class. Thank you very much.